It's a beautiful evening, and also much darker than by the time I normally arrive here at Misson Carr. It was quite a last minute decision and a wheezy race up the A1 to get here, so not hanging about. Gonna get set up. It's been very warm today, well, hot really by UK standards. The temperature will drop, but it's not forecast to drop very low at all tonight. So hopefully we'll see what Moth's Misson Carr has in store for us tonight. The first few days of September. It's the 4th today. So it'll be interesting to see what the species list will be like at the end of the session. I've been asked a number of times, what information do you put down? Well, the simple answer is not a lot really in the notebook. It's the 4th of September down, so you put the date and you put your site where you're trapping, the weather conditions. In this instance, it's clear and very warm. It's also very humid as well. One of those nights when you should be trapping, if at all possible. These warm, humid nights, chances are, could bring out lots of insects and an assortment of insects. Most of what's on the sheet now is an assortment of flies and water boatmen. And the time we started is 2020. So that's relatively neat for me. We have a straw dotting, so that's the first moth in. While we're away, the second moth is in, and it's a water veneer, which is a tiny white moth that almost buzzes on the sheet or on the floor around the light. It's most unmoth-like. Even when it's at rest, it looks more like some kind of fly rather than a moth. But it's an aquatic species and very indicative of warm, humid nights such as this. Everything is in place again for another good night. And the last time I trapped here, I ended up with 100 species, approximately 100 species. There is no way that we'll get anywhere near that this evening, because we're now at that transitional stage. Autumn moths starting and the summer moths just finishing. You can get a good list. Usually with, the dregs of the older moths and the first bright, smart moths of the autumn. But it'll be interesting to see what we get. Well, it's the best evening for water boatmen. Everything you can see in this area here is water boatmen. There's probably a couple of species involved. Lots and lots of water boatmen. People are often surprised when water boatmen and water beetles arrive at night, but they do fly on warm, humid nights such as tonight. So the unexpected could always turn up. The best unexpected beetle to turn up for me would be a great diving beetle. I've still yet to see one. How I would like one of those to thud into the light. And you may well have seen a green carpet there, look, just sitting briefly amongst hundreds of water boatmen. Well, an hour gone so far. Nothing spectacular. The best moth that is here at the moment would be small China mark. I don't know whether it's been recorded here before. I have no record of it being recorded here before, and that's Cataclysta lemnata. I'll put a photo in because it has gone. It was on the sheet briefly and has disappeared. There may well be some more coming in, but it's a beautiful small white moth, very dainty and delicate, but quite beautiful. Lots of moths starting to come in now, mostly Cetaceous Hebrew characters and square spot rustics, but it's becoming busy. Lots and lots of water boatmen, as you can see. Most are starting to climb the sheet now. I've never had so many water boatmen. But there's a couple of brimstones in, but nothing really rare or unusual as yet. I think there'll be something though. Something maybe I've not recorded before. That would be nice. But I'm quite happy recording good numbers of commoner moths. Well, here's the first moth that I've been able to film to show you, because I want to try and show you something different, and this is very different, at least for this channel. And this is a bulrush wainscot, and a particularly large species. I can't remember them being as large as this, although it isn't a species that Dillis and I ever trapped with any regularity. We certainly had one or two at the side of Loud Wood or Eakin Flash many years ago. So this is a nice one, a good species to get. It's generally a dull straw colour across the forewings, and then varying shades of darker greys, and then just at the base of the wings across there are 4 or 5 or maybe 6 very fine black dots. There's all the black dots down this end of the wing, and then the edge of the wing there is decorated with a series of dashes. So that's bulrush wainscot, and that's a new moth for the channel. Nice to get that. Certainly appeared incredibly large for a noctuid when it came in. Well, a number of species are turning up now, and they're obviously in the second brood, and this light emerald is one such species. I know it's common, but it really is a beautiful moth, this. A very pale green, almost silvery green. This one's in really good condition, and it's one of 2 that's come in this evening. The green is a light, almost sage green across both forewings and hind wings, and then across those wings are 2 lines of pale, almost whitish scales, lined or edged on one side by slightly darker green scales, and then there's that shorter such line near the base of the forewings. A beautiful moth it really is. As I say, one of 2 that's coming tonight, and one that you'll trap with no bother at all in your urban or suburban garden trap. So that's light emerald. Well, we're over 2 hours. It's steady progress. Nothing terrifically exciting really, apart from this tortrix that's in here, because this is the kind of moth I've been after. It's a moth that I've not recorded before, and I have a feeling it's going to be quite rare in Nottinghamshire. And this is Epinotia trigonella. I'll put a photo in, because even if I can photograph it, it's not going to look very sparkling on the screen. Photo will be better and will do the moth justice. The moths are coming in. The temperature is 15, and I had a couple of these chaps, or ladies should I say, and of course this is a hornet. There's another one sat on top of the car in a container. I love hornets, but I am wary of them when they come round the light. You never know exactly where they're going to land, and I had one go down my t-shirt once. I survived, so did the hornet. But these are a factor you have to consider when you're trapping, and quite often you'll know within 2 or 3 minutes of switching the light on if you've chosen the worst spot in a woodland to trap that particular night. Dillis and I did once. Just switched the light on, it hadn't even warmed up and was inundated with these. We had to beat a hasty retreat and try and find somewhere else. So I always just pot them up, they settle down, and then when you're about to leave the site you can fling them out. So we'll see what's going to come in this next hour. Well, this seems quite a late date for me, but this is a dingy footman. Footmen are another group of moths which have had a pretty disastrous time of it really this year, and that's all down to the weather of 2022. But dingy footmen, I thought these would be over now, and this one, I must admit, is quite fresh looking. Easily told from other footmen by the sort of curved edges to the wings there. Other footmen don't have them. There's a new species for this evening. I say normally you would record these in large numbers, but not this year. It's been a bad year, 2022 and 2023. Good numbers hopefully to come in a year or so's time. So that's dingy footman, quite unexpected that. Well, the number of moths coming into the light has dropped as a bat goes over, and they've probably dropped because of the moon, which is right at the side of Jupiter. If you can see Jupiter there just coming up, and the temperature is also dropping. I haven't checked on it yet, but I think it's probably around about 11 or 12 maybe, but you expect that in a rural area such as Misson Carr. So I think it may well be time for a cup of tea and we'll review the situation. But the moon isn't good for moth trapping. There's a bat that comes round again, that looked quite a largish one. So we'll give it another quarter of an hour with a cup of tea, see if anything comes in, and then probably call it a night. Well, it's 11:30 and I'm going to pack up now, because although the sheet still looks quite busy, there aren't that many new moths actually coming in. There's the odd ones, but a lot of it is moths that have been on the sheet just sort of recirculating around, and it's all down to the moon. The temperature actually is still only 14 centigrade, but there just doesn't seem the moths here at the moment, and moonlight, as I mentioned, is never good for moths. So a steady pack up. I'll have a look around the light when I move that out before I switch the power off. But a nice session nonetheless. It provided Epinotia trigonella. Hopefully get some photographs of that in the morning, and you'll see them on the forthcoming video. This video. But we've hit about 50 species. I think we've probably got nearly 50 species, which is a dramatic decline on when I came here a fortnight or so ago. But it's still been another enjoyable session here at Misson Carr.